Hey everyone, and welcome to the Drastic Measures live stream. We are going to talk about a tale of two chickens tonight, two Darwin apologists who like to put the challenge out there, but when it comes back to them, they show their true colours and they run away. So we're going to do a video review a little later. This is going to be about Suboor Ahmad, but the first chicken we're talking about is the Muslim lantern. Now, to discuss this with me, I have a special guest. His name is Ihsan. He's of the Evolution Facts channel, and
Evolution Facts with Ihsan.
Evolution Facts with Ihsan. Thank you, Ihsan. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, Drastic. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So, what we're going to do is, Ihsan's got a particular story involving some interactions he had with the Muslim lantern, which I think is really interesting for everyone to listen to, and we'll get into that into a minute. Once we've done that, we'll then go on to the video review with Suboor Ahmad. But if you, Ihsan, if you want to just introduce yourself to everyone and give us a bit about your background.
Sure. Okay, great. Well, my name's Ihsan. I'm an ex-Muslim. I left because I wasn't convinced by any of the God claims, and I realized Islam, which I was only into it because I was born into it. I realized it was no different to any other religion. So, and I felt in many ways it was immoral. So I left, became an atheist, still interested in science and general theology and morality and all these topics. And I started watching some of the videos, in particular the Dawa videos, and I put comments and had what I thought were good mannered discussions with people. Eventually, I was getting silent blocked, so I could put in a comment. I would see my comment, but I wouldn't see my comment from any other account. And then I started to take part in some of their live streams. I used to call in and have discussions with them and try and be as civil as possible. And they used to block me and ban me. And now I can't join any of them because as soon as
you've been blocked by everyone, have you?
Yeah, virtually all of them. As soon as I click on the StreamYard link to join, it says the host has banned you from this show.
Dear, oh dear. I mean, that is kind of a badge of honor, though, I have to say.
It is,
I mean,
yeah.
If everybody's blocked you, you know that you're having some kind of impact.
Yeah.
So well done for that.
Yeah, thank you. And I've even been to Speaker's Corner. I've done some of my own videos there, and
have you? I didn't realise that. That's
I've done
interesting.
a couple there. Yeah, not that many because I'm in the Midlands and I have to get to London for a Sunday, and you never know who's going to be there. So you might be lucky and get somebody who you could have a talk to. Sometimes they avoid me. It was one particular day with Mansour where I kind of like chased him all around Speaker's Corner.
Oh, really?
No conversation as he was walking away. So I do some of that, and I'm going to go back. I might go back this Sunday.
Oh, really? This Sunday? Oh,
yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, look, obviously, if you're ever down there, I mean, you know what I do. I mean, I can certainly do a review of any conversation if you're interested, or we can certainly, or you could even come on and review it after the fact if you do. But
yeah, I'll try. Yeah, I'll try and get some good discussions, and I'll upload them if they're worthy seeing, really.
Okay, good. Well, we'll all look forward to that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the description for Ihsan's channel, and it's for a particular video, which I will explain in a minute, but I'm going to put that link in right now. It's a very funny video. So what I would suggest people do is click on it, but don't watch it yet. It's only a 6-minute video. It's about one of our favorites, Muhammad Hijab, and it will just give you a taste of the kind of thing that that Ihsan does. So let me just put that in there now. Hopefully that'll be in. Yeah, so that will take you to Ihsan's channel, but obviously wait until you watch this brilliant live stream first. Ihsan, you've got, just before we get onto the situation that you had with the Muslim lantern, you've got a scientific background, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a medical doctor. So what particularly interested me wasn't the theology or going through all the religious books. It was the science denial, and especially when it came to the claims of evolution. in particular, and so for that reason, I have a particularly antagonistic relationship with Suboor, because he's like the Dawa anti-evolution science denier, and the guy who tries to make it his role in the Dawa community to mislead people about science.
He's kind of like
That's
the anti. He's like the anti-Darwin, isn't he?
yeah, yeah.
And he likes to portray himself as having this incredible knowledge on evolution and the associated sciences with it, and he's absolutely clueless. And you've done some brilliant videos debunking this nonsense.
I've done a lot, and there are particular themes that he has. I mean, most of his videos are just basically saying that science doesn't give you absolute truth. Well, nobody ever said it did. So he thinks his religion does give absolute truth. So his religion is more of value, which is absolutely nonsense. And I pointed that out in so many of the video reviews I do of him, that it's just ridiculous. So he's not that honest. And I think the other guy was
generous. You're being very generous there, Hassan, to say he's not that honest. I would say he's an absolute fucking liar, but digress.
Yeah. So the other one was the Muslim Lantern, and Suboor and the Muslim Lantern did I think it was like a 1 hour 40-minute stream together on evolution, and they called it "Two Muslims Rationally and Scientifically Dismantle Evolution," which is like the most ironic title you could have for a video.
Yeah, for sure.
It was so much rubbish that I was dismantling it. I was constantly stopping. Each time they said something, I had to then go and debunk it. I ended up having to do 4 videos. And then they did a live stream where they invited people in, and I joined. And I did a video review of that, and it was chaos. They spent the entire time bragging about YouTube subscriber numbers, and then they kicked me out, and then they deleted my part of their live stream. So it was like very cowardly behavior of them.
Yeah, and it was so this. Are we now talking about the conversation with the Muslim Lantern, which you then put up as your own video?
That came later. So the one on the evolution, the one where I recorded my interaction with them, because this is before they deleted my section. I cut out my section and I did a video review of my chat with them, which is on my channel. Then later on, they completely deleted my participation of their live stream. So if you go on to watch that original video, you won't see me in it.
Yeah, which is kind of, it's sort of typical behavior of these Dawa apologists. They'll do live streams and they'll put out various segments of the conversation, because they'll do like 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes, and then they'll put out a segment where they appear to have come off well with the conversation, but any point where they've been caught out, where they've been shown to be ignorant or dishonest, that will never make it to their little clips on their YouTube channels.
Exactly, and that's what got me into doing some review of the Muslim Lantern, because he used to have these non-Muslim streams. They'd go on for a few hours, and as soon as it finished, then he would make the video private, and then then he would just upload the conversations that looked favorably upon him. So what I used to do was I used to just record the whole lot and then just offer an analysis of various parts, and in many parts of it he didn't look that good. I mean, those are the ones that he put a copyright claim on, presumably because he took the video private, even though it was broadcasted live, it was private afterwards, and so I had to take those video analyses down.
Yeah, and let's focus on that for a bit, because there was 2 videos, weren't there? But there was one in particular that was getting really good traction. I think the last time I saw it before the copyright claim came in from the Muslim Lantern, it was, I think you were getting on for 6,000 views on it, so it was doing really nicely.
Yeah,
and you could really tell it was having an impact, because there was dozens of comments from irate Muslims in there who were kind of insulting you and all that. And again, that's a great sign that you've done a good video where you've managed to get that reaction. But it was a fantastic video, where you essentially exposed the Muslim Lantern as not really knowing what he was talking about. And despite the fact that your channel is quite small, no disrespect meant by that, but obviously this got back to the Muslim Lantern that he looked a bit of a fool in these videos, in these segments, and therefore he made a claim. Now, for a channel of his size to make a copyright claim against you, because you made him look foolish in a conversation, I think is one of the most cowardly things I've heard, considering you've got about 300 subscribers. I think he must have several 100,000.
Yeah, he's got like 300,000.
Yeah, and yet he was that bothered by an honest exposure of his Dawa apologetics being rubbish, that he, rather than say challenging you, because he's always talking about, oh, I'm open to debate and stuff. It's not like he did a response video or something. No, he just wants to remove all the evidence, which I just find amazing.
Yeah, and I did once, because one of the ones that was one of the videos that was taken down was when I tried to join. And so I was in the backstage and he could see me, and he told me that I was wasting my time trying to join his show. And I put that up because people keep on asking me, well, why don't you go on his live stream? And this is evidence that I tried, but he won't let me on. And I say to them, they're welcome to comment on my videos or even do the response videos. But their tactic with me is just to say I'm too small to be noticed. So like, I'm minuscule, tiny subscriber numbers, not worth their time. So the moment they kind of like do any kind of response, they've lost that argument that they've been using against me.
But they've already kind of lost that argument, really, because apparently you're too small to waste time with. But if you make them look foolish, they'll suddenly do a copyright claim against your video and get it removed. So again, and I think just while we're at this stage of the story, let me just put this up. This is an image which a friend of mine made, which I think just is completely appropriate for the Muslim Lantern here, because I just think it is such a chicken move to just because you're actually getting some good views on a conversation which you resoundingly defeated him in. He can't hack it, even though he's 1,000 times bigger. His channel. This is the level that they really operate on when you have a proper conversation which they can't handle. So this picture is dedicated to the Muslim Lantern, I think, because it just describes him perfectly, or it shows him perfectly.
Yeah, it does,
so I just felt it was good to get that story out there for people who don't know, because it just shows the Muslim Lantern acts as if he's so confident in his conversations, but perfectly willing to wipe any evidence once the conversation goes badly for him. So was there anything you wanted to add about that situation, Hassan, or do you think you've covered it all right?
No, I think I covered it. I don't think I'll be able to do any of those reaction videos to those live streams anymore, because I think because he's taking it privately, there's only a limited number of copyright strikes you can have before YouTube delete your channel. So I don't want to risk any of that.
Yeah, and I think he probably got away with it because he did take it private. So I suppose he can kind of argue from the point of view that it's for his members only, so therefore you're kind of accessing it without sort of paying for the membership or something. I mean, I'm sure that's the reason why you failed, because otherwise, I mean, I still think that should fall under fair use, but apparently it doesn't. So it's a bit of a shame.
I mean, it was broadcast, isn't it? It's not like I hacked into his computer or anything. It was, he broadcasted it over YouTube, and that's how I got it. So.
But it is a shame. But it was a nice thing while it lasted. And as I say, I've put a link for Ihsan's second most popular video in the chat. So if you want to scroll back up, go and watch that. And if you like Ihsan's stuff, like, subscribe. Let's get his numbers up. Let's get him some more exposure, because he does a really fantastic job. Right. I think what we'll do now then, we'll move on to the second tale of chickens, which is to do with Suboor Ahmed. And I'm going to bring up the video now, so bear with me. Okay, so just a bit of background to this. A couple of weeks ago, Subboor, Suboor. Oh, actually, it was about. I think it was a month or so ago. Suboor and the Muslim Lantern, they did a video where they were basically talking about evolution and intelligent design, and Suboor kind of did a presentation. Excuse me, Muslim Lantern did a presentation, I think, on Suboor's channel, and it was absolutely appalling. I've actually watched a bit of it now. I'm not sure if you have, Ihsan, but
Yeah, I did. I think let me just explain some of that. Sorry, some of that backstory. This is the same video that I did my 4 videos in response to, because Professor Dave was doing lots of debunks of Discovery Institute people who were all Christians. They're like this Christian propaganda mill, and people were saying to him, "Oh, do the Muslim ones as well. Do the Muslim creationists." And everyone would say, "Oh, you've got to do Suboor." And he said, "Oh, I'll get to them." So Professor Dave did a review of the same video that I did, and that they're responding to that, to his criticism of them.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Professor Dave Explains, he's this very large YouTube channel. I think he's got well over 3 million subscribers now. And he does reaction and debunk videos on various kind of pseudoscience. And he does quite a bit with people who promote intelligent design. So like Ihsan said, he mostly focuses on kind of Christian apologists. But this time he did a very long video on this Muslim Lantern presentation, which Ihsan, as he just explained, he's done his own debunks on it. And the video we're going to watch now is Suboor's response to that. Essentially, in this video, Suboor is trying to bait Professor Dave into having a live debate with him on evolution and intelligent design. Now, the reason I wanted to go through this is multifaceted. Number one, it shows the mentality of how they see debates and how it's so immature the way they approach it, and the way they kind of try and turn it into like it's a UFC match or something like that. And he's talking about putting out this offer to make it to do it in person and fly him out to England and everything. So it shows the mentality there. It's also full of a bunch of other rubbish as well, which we can go through. And I know, Ihsan, you've taken quite a few notes, so we're gonna sort of go through this bit by bit and basically have a laugh at Suboor. Sure. And I'll explain as we go along. You'll see the context of why this is a tale of a chicken, because he does this big bravado kind of offer or sort of trying to bait him into a debate, this much bigger YouTube channel. And there was a response to it, but we'll kind of cover that as we go along. So Ihsan, if you're ready, I'll start playing.
Yes, go ahead. Let's start.
Muhammad Ali has entered the building. How are you doing, bro?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
How's your Ramadan?
Alhamdulillah, it's all like back and forth, but Alhamdulillah, it's very good, very productive.
Yeah.
Just like working on a project, just landed, came back from Turkey. And the funny thing is this, like yesterday's night before the flight, I came across this video. I don't know, someone commented it. Yeah. What happened is, the video we made started getting comments recently, and then people, like 2 or 3 people actually, it was not that many people, but they were commenting, Professor Dave, something like did a reaction or something like this, right?
So I just want to stop it there because I love the way they sort of downplay like the reaction. This guy is huge on YouTube.
Yeah,
There's over 3 million, over 3 million subscribers. I mean, this is not small potatoes. He's got to be up there with the most popular in terms of scientific channels that I know of. So this kind of dismissing him is, oh yeah, just like as if he was just some random guy or something. I just find that
they would have loved to have dismissed him, but because he's got such a big online presence, I'm sure that as soon as Professor Dave's videos come up, both Suboor and the Muslim Lantern would have been inundated with their fans telling them to respond to it.
Absolutely, yeah. But they always like to pretend like they're so cool, like, oh, it's just like water off a duck's back kind of thing. It's no big deal for them. But anyway, let's carry on.
So I just Googled the link and the name, and then I saw the video. I honestly just put it into X speed, and before sleeping, just like for half an hour, I just watch bits and parts of the reaction, and I found it very funny. It's very. I don't know if you've seen it or not. Have you looked at it?
I haven't seen it.
I'm just going to stop it there. The actual response that Professor Dave did, and he did like a big, it was, I don't know, it's like 3.5 hours or something in response to
Yeah.
the Muslim lanterns. Absolutely appalling presentation. Now, I don't know about you, Isan. I've actually watched the first hour of Professor Dave's response. Have you watched any of it at all yourself?
I watched the whole lot, and what was so funny about it was, unlike my 4 videos, which I kind of like, I took them more seriously because their science is so bad. Professor Dave just sat all the way through drinking, and he was getting drunk while still.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was. He was drinking alcohol, and he was scientifically debunking every nonsense thing they were saying while he was getting drunk. That's how bad their arguments were.
Yeah, because I know he's got a bottle of whiskey which he's got at the
Yeah.
start, and to be fair, during the first hour, I didn't sort of find him noticeably any worse for wears. But I love the idea that even though he's like pissed up,
Yeah,
during halfway through, he's still schooling these guys, and yet they think that they can defeat him in a debate. I mean, that's hilarious. Right. Yeah, and just to say, like that, the first hour that I watched. Actually, I tell you what, we'll come on to that as they talk about it. So let's play a bit more.
Yeah, but I know this guy. He had a debate with an. So first thing, Muhammad, I just wanted to let you know this guy's not actually a professor, right? So we shouldn't get happy that.
Right. Let's stop it there. I'm sure you picked up on this
exactly.
as
Yeah.
well. Do you want to go ahead on this point?
He taught. Yeah, sorry. He taught. This is Professor Dave. He taught organic chemistry at a university. I know the American academic qualification names are different to the UK, so that may be why he may not have been a formal professor in our setting. But of course, Suboor has to dismiss him when it's just a YouTube channel name. Professor Dave sounds like a good channel name. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know anything about science.
Yeah, but I see. I wanted to run this past you because as I understood it, and I could be wrong, so I'm glad I've got someone with a proper academic background here. I understood that although a term like doctor is kind of you have to have a PhD to be able to honestly use that title. I thought that professor wasn't necessarily tied to a particular qualification. I thought it was more to do with it's maybe like being in a department or something like that, or a certain amount. But it's not like slavishly tied to a particular qualification, is it? I don't think.
Yeah, it's like a academic position, so it's like it comes with a job. That's what I'm used to it. So you have to have been in that kind of, you have to hold a professorship. So like you'd be in a university and you have that title. That's what it's like in the UK, and I don't think the US is that much different. But Professor Dave, or we need to call him just Dave, is that he's got a master's in science and chemistry, I think. So he can teach chemistry at university.
Yeah, so there's nothing actually fraudulent about him using that title. He has professional qualifications. He can teach in higher education institutes. So to use, I mean, if he was going to use the term doctor, I think I'd have a bit more of a problem. But if he hasn't got the kind of appropriate PhD, but the term professor is, I think, reasonable to use considering his background, isn't it? It's certainly not fraudulent, put it that way.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, and anyone could put a YouTube channel calling themselves, professor. It's not like a protected name, but at least he's got some background that he's more qualified than most to use it.
Yeah. And yet, Suboor and the Muslim Lantern go on and on and on about this as if it's like some big gotcha. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and neither of them have got anything like close to him in terms of academic qualifications.
Oh, I doubt they've even got a GCSE or an A level in any science related field. So, right, let's spin on and see what else they got.
Professor made a 3-hour video. He's a charlatan. He's a high school teacher who makes YouTube videos, right? So I don't know, like, how are you going to make a video on YouTube claiming other people don't understand or they're charlatans or whatever, when you yourself have 2 million subscribers and you call yourself a professor and you don't have a PhD, you've never been a professor? I mean, shameless behavior, right? What a way to put it.
Again, it's doctor, which is not professor, which is tied to PhD. But isn't that an irony, Isan, for him
It
to
is.
say something like that, to claim that like he's got some front or whatever to be talking about science, telling other people what they know.
Yeah.
When
Oh yeah,
Suboor
I mean, Suboor, he's always touting that he's some sort of science philosopher and all these things. I don't think he's got any qualification. He's been like a PhD candidate for the last 10 years or something. I was like, how long does it take you to do your PhD? He's been promising a book for the past 5 years, and we're still waiting for that from Suboor.
Oh no, it's longer. I think
he longer?
I think he first, from what I understand, I think he first talked, and he does mention it, so we'll bring this up again later in the video. But from my memory, the first time he mentioned he was writing a book was 2015. So we're coming on now for almost a decade. Almost a decade we're getting on to now. So, yeah, I mean, if it takes him this long, no wonder he hasn't got his fucking PhD. But yeah, I mean, the irony of someone this illiterate about science. And by the way, to the audience, I mean, obviously, Isan is scientifically, academically trained, etc. I'm not, so I'm not claiming to be any better than Suboor, but I don't go around pretending I am. Suboor acts as if he's got this brilliant, scientifically literate mind, and anytime somebody like Isan goes onto his live stream, or anybody else with a proper scientific background to challenge him, he falls apart. So for him to be saying this about Professor Dave is ridiculous. Right, let's spin them.
But anyway, it's not about that. He debated an actual professor, right? He debated an actual professor and James Tor, and James Tor humiliated him. And this guy was so cringe. This guy was so pathetic. He was doing personal attacks. And I was thinking...
Isan, did you want to talk about this this scientist he mentioned?
I watched it. There's been a very long back and forth between Professor Dave and James Tor on the origin of life, abiogenesis. And it's basically James Tor has been saying that origin of life research is a scam. We're all clueless about it, because he just wants everyone to think that origin of life can only come from divine intervention. And Professor Dave has been debunking those. Then they had a debate between them. That's the one that they showed that thumbnail for. And in a way, it's true. Professor Dave did go through a lot of personal attacks, which is his style in many ways. But he also did show a lot of the science. And he later fact-checked James Tor and showed that a lot of what he said was wrong. So I think for Suboor to say that, James Tor humiliated Professor Dave is just nonsense. It shows that he didn't really watch it or didn't really understand the debate. Yeah,
and for context, this James Tor guy, he's not actually an evolutionary biologist, is he? He's a chemist, I think.
He's a chemist at a university in the US. So he's got qualifications and proper credentials, but I think he probably just misuses those to further his goals, because he's a part of the Discovery Institute.
Well, this thing, he's a born again Christian, and I was looking at his Wikipedia page. I think he described himself as a Messianic Jew, and as you say, he's a member of he's attached to the Discovery Institute, which is the main kind of proponents of this intelligent design pseudoscience. And he is I mean, I say not to say that he hasn't got academic qualification, but I think it is important if somebody's going to be talking about evolution and they're not an evolutionary biologist. I just find it ironic that every time you get one of these intelligent design people, they never seem to have an actual qualification in evolutionary biology. It's always some other field.
They cover different, because like there's so few genuine scientists that they're spread out and they have to cover all kinds of topics. Like they have Casey Luskin, who's a geologist, and they have him talking about evolution. And at least I don't think James Tor really talks much about evolution. He's like a organic chemist, or no, I think he's just an inorganic chemist or nanochemist or something, like chemistry at the tiniest scale. And they have him as the expert on origin of life, even though a lot of what he says is contradicted by other proper origin of life researchers.
Yeah. Okay, let's carry on.
How can you do personal attacks against an actual professor when you yourself call yourself a professor, when you're not a professor and you don't understand what the literature says? And
Sorry, just on the personal attacks thing, anyone who has watched the Suboor Ahmad live stream knows that he absolutely loves doing personal attacks when things aren't going his way. So again, there's a lot of irony there, him saying that.
Exactly.
you know what I thought? I thought, you know what, this is fantastic. He's made a 3-hour long video on us. So if he's made a 3-hour long video, which must have taken him a long time, and the video that we made was made last year, so obviously this has been on his mind for some time. So if this is the case and he has time on his hand, then surely he's going to have time to do a one-on-one debate. And so I'm going to offer him fully paid trip to the UK, hotels, flights, everything covered, anything.
I just want to stop it there. This is just a personal beef of mine. It is a slight tangent, but I will bring it up. It just shows these Dawa apologists. They just seem to have an infinite money supply when it comes to flying around the world, flying guests around the world, paying for nice hotels and everything. Yeah. I mean, Suboor could do this debate online with him if he really wanted to. But there's two elements to this. One, he wants to do all the big theatre and make a massive drama out of it and get as many Muslims packed into an audience as he can to heckle them. And number two, it just shows who's paying for all this exactly. Because how many times are they going to go and do a fundraiser to raise the money for a completely unnecessary trip to the UK for this guy? They have there's no quandary about just milking their subscribers and their supporters for money for things that are just completely unnecessary. So I just think it's worth pointing that out.
I mean, how many times has Hamza gone to Qatar? It's like he's there all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Mohammed Hijab and Hamza Sources go to South Africa. We've seen Mohammed Hijab in Nigeria doing his Dara apologetics. I mean, it's like he's gone to Norway to try and have a fight with a Quran burner. I mean, he's all over they're all over the world. It's like the Darwin World Roadshow or something.
Yeah. But go back to what Suboor was saying. I mean, he's trying to sound grandiose. He has no intention of debating Professor Dave, but Suboor could have said that, I'm coming over to the US and I'll fly over, meet you at your venue. And he could have said that if he was interested, but no, he wants it in the UK if it does happen, which he's obviously not going to, because he just wants to appear tough and confident in front of his supporters. That's all he wants.
Oh yeah, because at any venue he'll then be able to pack with 300 or 400 Salafis who will just holler and wail. They won't actually understand anything that's being said, but they'll make it appear. So when they put out whatever clips they can, because they got them cheering in the background, it will make it seem somehow that Suboor is winning because he'll make some stupid joke and they'll all laugh. It's for propaganda purposes.
Exactly, and also they'll. Because Cosmic Skeptic, Alex O'Connor, a few years ago, he had a debate with Mohammed Hijab, and he was having audio issues. His microphone was cutting out.
I remember that.
Certain times, and I'm sure that wasn't an accident.
Yeah, it did seem like they deliberately set that up. These technical difficulties.
Yeah, and that's probably why they want to bring Professor Dave over here to probably do the same again.
Yeah. I mean, it's his home field advantage. I mean, it does matter if what you care about is propaganda rather than an actual real debate. Then setting up the environment to assist that is quite important, and they do it all the time. These Dara apologists. Anyways, let's skip on.
Something else that he wants covered will be covered as well, inshallah, for a debate on: is Darwinian evolution a fact and is intelligent design science? Because the way I think about it is, people like this, you need to make them feel humiliated. You need to make them squirm. You need to put the heat on them, because in that debate between him and James Tor, I felt like, you're debating an academic here. You need to be humble. Like, look, I'll be honest with you. I debated Professor Stephen Law, right? And I'm not a professor. So even though I disagree with him and he's an atheist, I had to, act in a certain way because he's a professor and I got to deal with him in a certain way.
I'm just going to stop it there just to raise a couple of points. The first bit, I just think it's really telling the way he says, "Oh, you really want to humiliate them." Again, this is for them. They see it as some kind of gladiatorial combat. It's not actually about presenting good ideas and maybe even learning something. It's all about humiliating them for the audience.
Yeah, exactly. The average Dawa follower, they're not going to understand the science, but what Suboor wants is for those people to walk away thinking that their Muslim champion has smashed the arrogant atheist. That's all what Suboor's interested in. And you've got the utter irony of Suboor talking about manners when I've spoken to him so many times.
Being humble.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
He's terrible. He's like, Suboor, he refuses to answer questions. He gets help from the moderators who kick out tough guests. They manipulate the comments. They delete segments that look bad on him. I mean, the last person to be talking about debate etiquette and manners.
Yeah, and this humbleness thing is really ironic. And I've seen it with the when Hamza taught this, when he did the debate in South Africa with those two philosophy academics, him and Mohammed Hijab went there. When they did a debrief of this, I think it was on Daniel Hakikajou's channel. They basically said, "Look, yeah, we'll go out there and we'll kind of we'll sort of show manners and stuff. But the truth is, we don't think they deserve to be on the same stage as us. We're not there because we want to show them any respect. We're basically there to tell them that they're wrong and to spread Islam and to do dawah." I mean, he was openly admitting that. Now, admittedly, that is Hamza and it's not Suboor, but does anybody really think that Suboor sees it any differently than that? I mean, regardless of how much he can pretend to be showing debate etiquette, he's there for the same reason, just to spread dawah. He's not there for a proper debate. So, yeah, I just think it showed. I think this is good, this video, because it really encapsulates their mindset. Shall I spin on?
Yep, carry on.
Then when I had a debate, a discussion with Professor Pritchard at Birmingham University, again, he's a professor. I disagree with him, but I have to speak with a level of respect. I have to speak with a level of,
Humbleness.
humbleness, right? I had Professor Michael Roos on my channel, and again, he's somebody who's an atheist. I'm a Muslim, but I had to have a certain level of respect, a certain level
Demeanor.
of demeanor, right? A certain demeanor. Because look, at the end of the day,
but he's saying that, and yet he's talking about what the main thing about doing a debate is to humiliate someone. So that seems to be somewhat contradictory.
Yeah, and also a lot of the ones where he does talk to the academics, I have watched them, and he never really argues with them. He never really says anything controversial. He kind of does have a pleasant conversation with them, and I think he does it for the purpose of those discussions are just so that he's got some clout, so that he could bring up in his later discussions, saying that he had a debate with Professor this and another debate with Professor that, when they're more like just general conversations.
Yeah, it's basically like padding out his CV or something, isn't it? Really,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Hamza Sorts I mean, he was a progenitor of this kind of things, because when he did that debate, 11 years ago now, with Lawrence Krauss, and despite the fact that he did appallingly in it, he was forever going on as if that somehow means that Hamza is now credentialed because he had he got shown up in a conversation with Lawrence Krauss. They think just by being on the same stage, they've somehow got the same credibility, and they really haven't. Although obviously in the eyes of their Dawa followers, there were
they think they're up there.
They think basically, oh well, if he's talking with a famous physicist or a biologist, then he must have the same level of knowledge as them, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
Whether we agree or we disagree, he's at a higher level. So here's a man who claims, that he claims the title of professor. He doesn't even have a PhD, and he has the audacity to make a video on other people claiming that they're misrepresenting stuff, when he himself is in his very title claiming to be a professor when he's not. And the way he was acting, I'm going to send you the link on WhatsApp, inshallah. The way he was acting during the debate with James Torr, and the way that he attacks other intelligent design proponents like Stephen Meyer and Michael B., who are all academics, who are all, people who.
Do you know those two names, Sam, that he just brought up? Because Yeah, did
These
you want to go
are
ahead?
sorry to interrupt.
No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. He is talking about the videos that he did on Michael Behe and also James Tor and it's Casey Luskin and Stephen Meyer. So these are all part of his series of debunks of the Discovery Institute. So
Right.
what was happening was, Professor Day was doing these debunks, and he's supposed to talk about them being published. Well, the thing is, they're not. They've written lots of books, which is full of bad science because none of what they say would be published in the peer-reviewed literature. So in that way, Suboor is wrong because they're not really published.
Oh yeah, I mean, anyone who is connected to the Discovery Institute automatically will never have anything properly peer reviewed, will they? I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost why they're attached to Discovery Institute.
Yeah, I mean, things. Some of them do because I mean, there's somebody like Gunter Beckley. He's one of them, but he does like real science
Right.
on insects or something, and that does get published because it's real science. But then separate to that, he talks nonsense on evolution, which is part of the Discovery Institute, and that doesn't get published because it's not proper science.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to carry on.
Publish stuff.
Mhm.
It just shows a level of delusion. It's like, do you actually know who you are? Do you actually realize how ridiculous you actually look?
I mean, again, sorry, I got to pause it there. I mean, it's just so fucking funny hearing Suboor say stuff like this. I mean, does he ever look in the mirror and apply this to himself?
Yeah, it's like the idea he thinks that he's on the same level
It's
as these
amazing.
other people.
Anybody with two brain cells will look at the conversation between you and James Tor and say, you just made a fool of yourself.
Mhm.
So what I'm planning on doing, Muhammad, is I'm going to bring him to the UK and I'm going to talk to him on his level because I'm not a professor. He's not a professor. So we're going to talk on the level, right? So I'm going to do to him what I did to Aaron Ra. And I've seen that actually he's shared platform with Aaron Ra. So his arguments aren't going to be far off. They're going to be pretty similar. He's got 2 million subscribers. So this is a fantastic way of showing a lot of atheists who must be watching his content that a lot of the things the atheists have been saying and the Darwinists have been saying for the last 150 years about Darwinian evolution is false.
Mhm.
A lot of the philosophical arguments that they've been using are faulty. And when you take people like this,
I mean, I'm sorry, philosophical arguments for evolution. I mean, you don't need philosophical arguments. It's a physical science. So
You've got lots of the science, and I mean, Sabor brought up his debate with Aaron Ra, and anyone who watches that would see how terrible Sabor did. His entire argument was what I said earlier about how science doesn't lead to absolute truth. There's no such thing as a total fact or something. He spent his entire time arguing about the definition of the word fact, which in science doesn't mean what it may mean in general lay terms, and that was his whole theory. It was completely rubbish.
yeah.
from behind a screen where they feel confident, and you bring them in person and you put the heat on them, you stick it on them, that's when these people melt. And that's when these people really break down and you can see how faulty their arguments are. So
Now, again, sorry, got to stop that there, but just because I got Ihsan here, I mean, this is amazing as well that he would say something like that. I mean, you've proven when you've gone on their live stream that once you confront them with actual facts, scientific facts, they crumble in exactly the way he's claiming he's going to make the other guy crumble.
Yeah,
so again, like the
exactly.
irony of this is just
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I mean, the narcissism and the delusion here, it's just both hilarious and terrifying. And especially when Suboor, like he's the one hiding behind the screen because he hasn't contacted Professor Dave at all. He's just sitting there behind his computer talking tough to the audience.
Yeah, and actually, just for the audience here, and we'll mention this in bits and pieces, but Professor Dave has actually done a response to this, and he did it pretty soon after, I think within a day or two.
It was the following day, yeah.
Was it the following day where
Yeah,
he absolutely called Suboor's bluff? But we'll get onto that as we go through it.
that's the plan. And I wanted you to, give your words and your insight into this challenge I'm going to put to him, inshallah.
Yeah, yes, I didn't know that. Like, obviously, you would assume someone is a professor when he puts professor in his title. Like, it's just a basic thing, right? But I've noticed why he cannot be. Basically, what I've watched from the review display that this person have no idea about academia, how to speak as an academic person, or how to refute content or whatever that person made in an academic manner. Because that was not his reaction video. That, at least what I've seen from it, because I definitely don't have 3 hours to waste, right? I was already traveling before my sleep. I just, like, put the 2x, watch like 1 hour of the video or something. And I was like, is this really the level of response that you're coming with? Someone who is.
Well, look, I mean, he's talking about it, and as you've pointed out, Isan, he's kind of he's got a bit of a sharp tongue, hasn't he, Professor Dave? He's
Yeah.
he'll
That's
kind
his
of be.
style. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a somewhat of a mocking tone, but then again, I mean, both you and I have that to a certain extent as well, because when you review these Dawa apologists, you can't help. I mean, it's almost like a thing to keep you sane. You have to mock them because what they come out with is just so ridiculous. I mean, you're more professional than I am in your videos, but I think even you, even in some of your later ones, I can sort of hear the like the frustration and the kind of like a bit of a sarcastic tone coming out, which is because you can't not do it because their claims are so stupid. And but
once you've interacted with them, you know what they're like, and then you grow to dislike them as people, and that just makes you want to mock them even more.
Absolutely, but to go back to what Muslim Lantern's saying, like he wasn't critiquing it in an academic way. Well, from the hour of his response that I watched to their video, he was bringing in a fair amount of decent science. Yes, he was kind of face palming and doing that kind of thing, but he was talking about various bits of evolutionary theory which they were getting wrong. He was bringing up the fact that he wasn't really providing any evidence. He just had a load of articles which he wouldn't even click on to show the content, and he was saying this was evidence against evolution. So I think he was doing a good job. He just also happened to throw in the face palming and kind of the taking the mick a bit because they're ridiculous people.
Yeah, because it was just so easy for him to just debunk their nonsense, and also you could tell from Muhammad Ali, the Muslim Lantern's comments, that about Dave, he hadn't watched any of his other content where he does proper debunks of Discovery Institute and proper in-depth scientific videos. So he's not representing him and his work properly.
Absolutely.
A 3 million base subscriber, whatever it is, this is the level of response you're coming with.
But this guy, he's actually really cringe the way he attacks academics, right? I mean, okay, when I'm talking to a random guy, when I'm talking to an academic, even when I met Richard Dawkins, right? And I disagree with Richard Dawkins. He had an event and I was speaking to him. I asked him some question about philosophy and stuff. I totally disagree with him, but there's a level of, okay, so this guy, he's above me in a certain way academically, right? So I got to behave in a certain way. So what I want to do with this guy is I don't want him to hide behind the screen. I don't want him to, we make a video, he makes a video, or he jumps on a live stream where he feels confident in his.
Yeah, but see, so I'm going to stop it there. Why not do response videos? Because I think they're a perfectly legitimate way of going through, which is obviously what I do. It's what you do, Sam. You go through point by point, because particularly with these guys, they make up so much crap that you have to do a point by point thing to expose it, because it's almost like every video is a gish gallop for them. They'll just throw out anything and it's just throw mud at the wall and see what sticks. So to me, that's a perfectly legitimate way of doing it, because if you're in a debate, it's harder to do that in real time. But when you're doing it as a response video, you
can't fact check a lot of what they say. And I've got a lot of experience with that, where they say so many things talking directly, and I don't have the time to check whether it's true or not. But when I do my response video, I find that so much of what they say is wrong. So that's and also you can go into it, like when they brought up their links. They didn't go into that, but I went into every single one of them in a response video, and so these kind of videos, it gives you the opportunity to really explore the other person's argument, and that's what's actually better for everybody who wants to learn something than these face-to-face debates.
And also, if you notice as well, you never see a Dawa apologist do a proper response video, because if they had to go through where, you know, whether it was just somebody like me, just some layperson, or whether it was like an academic like Professor Dave, in order for them to do a proper response video, they would have to go through bit by bit and actually show where he's wrong on evolution. And because they don't understand it, they are incapable of doing that kind of video. So therefore, this is why I think another reason they mock it, because they're not able to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how long have they been talking now? And they haven't addressed one bit of the science. They spent the entire time mocking his channel name, and that's it.
Calling him a fraud because he uses the term professor. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I've mentioned that, what, 8-9 times now in the opening sort of 8 minutes of this. So, it just shows that they're not really capable of doing a substantive, actual response with content in it. It's all rhetoric. Anyways, let's spin on.
Little mom's basement, wherever he is, right? God knows where he is. What we need to do is bring him in front of a live audience, where live audience can interact with him, where I can put questions on him. Because when I had a debate with Alex O'Connor, right, I chose to debate him in person when he made a video reaction to me. I chose to debate Aaron Ra in person when he made a video against me. I am not of those people that's like, oh, let's hide live stream and do a video and you're comfortable. No, let's I want to see his reaction when he's making these claims. And I actually want to ask him that, how can you shamelessly call yourself a professor? Like, I actually want to.
Yeah, again, all this nonsense, again, it's like, I won't do a response video because then I'd have to know what I'm talking about. But what I will do is I'll get you in front of a bunch of Muslims who agree with me, who can heckle you. And I can just throw a litany of questions, half of which will probably just be going off on tangents to distract you. And then I'll call it a victory. Yeah, of course you want to do that, Suboor, because that's all you've got.
Yeah, he's going to get, he'll get a hostile crowd, and there'll be a moderator who I'm sure won't be neutral. There'll probably be some technical issues whenever Professor Dave is trying to speak or something like that. That's what they'll want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stick it on him. Some of these things, they just show a person's level of self-delusion that, okay, I'm going to make these videos, I'm going to mock people, I'm going to say certain things, and I'm going to, in a way, I'm going to do what James Tor could not do, right? James Tor is a fantastic academic. He publishes papers. He knows what he's talking about. But James Tor still had to, just stick to the argument. He just had to stick to,
Isn't that a terrible thing, Hassan? Sticking to the actual topic of the debate. I mean, that really seems to offend Subboor.
And it shows, because of course he's bigging up James Tor because he's an opponent of Professor Dave in the same way that Subboor used to big up the name escapes me now. Dennis Noble, because he was an opponent of Richard Dawkins, and it was ridiculous. He was talking to him about him like he was some demigod just because he
said he was the greatest evolutionary biologist in history or something
like that. And he was he's a physiologist. So I mean, again, he's gone on about, he's basically, all he's done is the entire video was mock him for the name channel name and then go on about debate etiquette. He's shown this bravado about inviting Dave and he hasn't addressed any of the science, but he could say they're saving that up for the debate. But it's just all this endless talk, and he needs to just send the invite.
Yeah, well, actually, just we'll play a little bit more, and then we'll get to that bit.
The points, he had to bring it back. He had to show that Dave didn't know what he was talking about. But what I want to do is, inshallah, I want to show that actually this guy has nothing to offer. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I'm going to prod him. I'm going to push him. I'm going to, and with interrogations, right? And this is where you really get in the meat of a debate. When a person's putting up a front and, you make a point, they make a point. But when you stick it on them, when you actually stick it on them and you know where they're going with that, and you can lay a trap. And I did this with Aaron Ra, alhamdulillah, I did this with others. You can show people live, this guy has no idea what they're talking about. And that's when their public demeanor and their decorum all falls apart because they're in front of a live audience and they're getting humiliated, right?
Right, yeah, I just want to stop it there. I mean, once again, just to you've done that to both of these guys and many others, which is why they kick you off and you're banned from talking to all of them. So it's ironic he says this, but it's just a language there as well. You can lay a trap. I mean, so therefore he's going to try to. No doubt that trap will be let me find some obscure. I don't know, some obscure kind of anomaly within evolution that maybe they haven't quite worked out a full explanation for yet, and say, oh well, if you can't answer that, that means that the entire theory is just made up. There's no basis for it. It's that kind of bullshit. It's like
it'll be like replay of his discussions with that and Aaron Ra. That one was properly moderated, and Suboor looked badly in that. And again, he's just sitting here talking big to his audience because they've probably been hassling him from the moment Professor Dave did his video. They're hassling these two guys to respond.
Yeah.
And they start stuttering and they start doing all those things. So I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, I'm going to invite you to the debate as well. In fact,
oh yeah, invite the Muslim Lantern. That really improve things, wouldn't it? I mean, this guy knows even less than Subboor does. This is like dumb inviting dumber to the debate to help him.
I'm sure he's going to have a word with you as well. But yeah, I mean, that's the plan. That's what I want to do with this guy. And you said, what if he doesn't accept? I'm not going to accept anything less than an in-person debate because this is what I do and this is my track record.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is your track record. Well, let's get on to that because as we've mentioned before, Professor Dave did actually do a response video to this, and he basically called his bluff. He said, "Yeah, okay, you contact me, and I'll fly to the UK on your dime. I'll come there. I'll humiliate you in a live debate, and we'll see what happens."
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I've checked both Subboor's channel, Muslim Lantern's channel, and Professor Dave's channel. I don't think that Suboor has yet contacted him. I don't know if you've seen any update on that.
No, he hasn't made any contact with Professor Dave. And going back to, so you mentioned Suboor then did a few years ago, Suboor did a video on why evolution is not a fact or something like this. And I think Aaron Ra did a 50-minute review of Suboor's video. And Suboor then tried to do a counter rebuttal, which was only 4 minutes long and didn't address anything that Aaron Ra said. And even the Muslim fanboys in his comment section said you haven't addressed anything that he'd said.
Well, look, okay, look, in the interest of honesty there, I made a mistake. I said that they've never ever done a response video, so I'm glad that you've clarified that. Suboor did once do a 4-minute response video where he didn't address anything that Aaron Ra said, so I hold my hands up there. I made a mistake. He's got a proud track record of response videos. Dear, oh dear.
And that's probably why Suboor doesn't want to do a back and forth of response videos, because he doesn't want that to happen again.
I mean, he can't. He doesn't understand the topic.
Exactly.
I mean, again, I'm at best got a layman's kind of understanding of evolution, but I've occasionally done videos debunking some of their science rubbish, pseudoscience. I have to really go and look up and research on specific bits and pieces because I just don't have the background. But I can go and read it and I can understand it and then put a counter response. But it takes a lot of effort.
It does, yeah, because doing these science rebuttals, you do need to know the science, but you also need to try and explain it. Using diagrams and you have to show them getting the bit wrong, and then you've got to explain why it's wrong, and that just takes a lot of effort. But it's the best way, just to leave like a legacy that people can always look up and just know that these guys don't know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, and just at this point, I've just put the link in for Ihsan's channel again, which take you to his short video on Muhammad Hijab and his obsession with camel urine, which is a very funny video. It's only 6 minutes, so check it out when you get some time and go subscribe to Ihsan's channel. He does excellent work debunking, particularly on evolution, but he also you branched out a little bit as well, and you've done some stuff on philosophy as well and things like that.
Yeah, done some philosophy, morality stuff. You just try and try and do some other topics as well.
Cool. All right, let's carry on with this.
I had something else in mind. Basically, when I say if he doesn't accept, I don't care whether he accepts or not. Basically, I'm saying there is something that we could do that would, in a way, if he doesn't accept, he lost, and if he accepts, he lost. Either way, basically, it's a lose-lose for him. And essentially, look, my issue, anyways, like with the debating format, is something essentially that you said, is where you have time for this individual and time for this individual. You're not really able to put someone on the spot. So this level of interrogation is extremely important because it displays someone's ignorance. While if you have just 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, someone can just like say any nonsense, you know, and he doesn't get called out on it. So this level.
Yeah, I mean, again, the irony of that. I mean, Muslim Lantern has been exposed for that. The fact that once you actually have a bit of time to talk back to him, as you proved, Isan, he crumbles, and therefore he won't put the conversation up. So it's, again, a massive irony that he, of all people, would be saying this.
Yeah, exactly.
Of cross-firing or back and forth is extremely important, I think, when it comes to this.
It does, but there's something else that I did with Aaron Ra, right? So I had a debate with him. After the debate, he was making some points, and I made some, I carried on discussions with him. Then he turned up in Speaker's Corner and had a second debate. So look, we can afterwards dismantle the debate and said, you said this, I said this. I did this with Alex O'Connor as well afterwards. And actually, he's a respectable opponent, right? I have to say, Alex is actually a nice guy. And he actually knows how to talk to people who are more senior. This guy doesn't. This guy has no respect for people.
Sorry, has he just portrayed Suboor as being more senior than Alex? Is that how he's just positioned himself there?
Yeah, I think he kind of averages a bit.
I mean, maybe in age, maybe chronologically he's more senior, because I know Alex is a young guy. But in terms of his knowledge, I mean, Alex O'Connor is fucking light years ahead of Suboor.
Yeah, and Alex was talking mainly about morality and theology. So, those are areas where I didn't know that much about, but even then you could still tell that Alex probably knew more.
Oh, absolutely, he's a very bright guy, isn't he?
Yeah. I know they're still talking, inviting him for a debate. They've been going on, and they must have told their audience they've invited him about 10 times by now without actually sending any form of invite over.
Yeah.
Believe in, intelligent design, who, that's enough for him, right? That basically for him, that means I can talk to this guy like he's a child simply because he believes in God. Well,
no, you see the bait and switch he did there. He first said, "Oh, well, because I believe in intelligent design, he's kind of undermining him, whatever," which he should be, because that's pseudoscientific garbage. But then he says, "Oh, well, he talks to me like a child because I believe in God." That's absolute bullshit. Most of the popularizers of science are not interested in that question when they're talking about evolution, because really it's got nothing to do with it. You can be a God believer and also believe in evolution, as most Christians do, in fact, because Catholics accept evolution across the board. So it's nothing to do with being a God believer, is it? It's that you're specifically promoting pseudoscientific junk, intelligent design. That's the issue, and you shouldn't conflate them.
Yeah, because there are people like, say Francis Collins. I think he was like head of the Genome Project, something like that, and he believes in God. And I think there was one on one of the debate channels where they invited Professor Dave and debate evolution, and he said he really didn't want to argue with anything theological. He just wanted to focus on the science. And so, Professor Dave, he's done a lot of debunks of intelligent design, but that's only because those people have decided to attack evolution and promote intelligent design. It's not because they've believed in God.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I've noticed this particularly with people like Suboor. They love to conflate this. You're challenging the belief in God with you're challenging intelligent design, and they're not the same thing. And it's almost like a I know it's quite the Mott and Bailey fallacy, maybe, but it feels like it's something similar, like where you go out there and sort of you push intelligent design. When that gets debunked, you fall back on, oh, you're just having a go at my religious beliefs. You're just claiming that you can disprove God or something. It's like, no, it's two different. I'm not sure that's exactly a Mott and Bailey, but it's I know
what you mean. Yeah, and also because on a lot of the videos, I think it was the most recent one where Subboor was at the university and they had the Q&A session, and he basically admitted that if there was no God, then he would believe in the full abiogenesis and neo-Darwinian framework. It's only because he believes in God that's why he doesn't accept that. So he's kind of like admitted it.
Oh yeah, and actually, I think that was one of your possibly your most recent video where you pulled up one of those debates he did. I was really glad of that because, for years now he has said that basically, if you don't have a God belief, then the most reasonable answer for the diversity and the development of life is evolution. So yeah, he is openly saying the only reason that I'm doing all this bullshit is because I believe in Allah. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
and he doesn't realize how weak that makes his position look.
Yeah, exactly. And also, there's some other on one of the ones, like on the Dawa ones, where he's not particularly talking. That so a Muslim would call up and say something like, "Oh, I've got this friend. He's almost a Muslim, but he's got some questions about evolution, and he wants to. And this guy wants to ask Suboor about it. And Suboor says, "Oh no, don't go down evolution. Firstly, go over all the other Muslim stuff. Try and convert him first, and then once he's converted, then we can talk about the evolution thing."
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's play on.
Believe in God, right? I believe in Allah. I believe in God. I believe in intelligent design as a theory. Come speak to me. Come speak to me. Let's have a chat. We can do all these back and forths. But what I wanted to do and what I'm going to be adamant about is that it has to be in person, bro.
No, that is definitely a fantastic idea. It's essentially what I was going to say is this, right?
Yeah.
You've put out the challenge already now, and I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to reach out to him or send him a video.
I'm going to probably take out this clip and send it to him.
Yeah, when are you going to do that, Suboor? Because it's been, I think since this video's come out, it's been 3 weeks now. And according to Professor Dave, you haven't done shit so far. So
yeah. Because I think the Professor Dave, in his response, he said something like, somebody asked Suboor about it in one of his Q&As, and Suboor said he's going to invite him, and then he took his Q&A video privately. Presumably because he didn't want this invite to really get out, and he probably said it just to shut up his supporters who were constantly hassling him. And then that didn't stop, so they kept on hassling. Then he thought he'd do this again, and this is the one that that Professor Dave did respond to.
Yeah, but this is a disadvantage of always having this bravado that you can debate anyone, anywhere, anytime, blah blah blah. If you keep talking that kind of trash, your supporters are going to expect you to follow up on it. So when you do that stuff to the wrong person and they say, yeah, let's get it on and I will actually show you, you know nothing, then he's in a bit of a bind, isn't it? Because if he backs out, which it appears that he's done, he looks like an absolute coward.
Exactly.
And if he goes forward with the debate, he's going to look like a complete fool. So.
Yeah. Because if you watch in every video he's been in, the Suboor, everything he's been in since, every community post, the comments are just full of people asking, "When's your debate? When's your debate?"
Oh, brilliant! Oh, this is definitely a saga I'm going to keep my eye on.
And he's probably sitting there thinking, "Oh, why did I open my mouth?"
Well, this is the thing. I mean, what's that phrase? Don't write a check that your butt can't cash. And I think this is an example of that.
Because what I'm worried about, what happens, and I'll tell you, this has happened to me before. When you contact an academic, they can go blank on you. So I was attacked by one of these, Darwinists, right, on Facebook. When I contacted him one-to-one, he just blanked me. And another time, it was just a straight up no, right? I'm not going to debate you. Another time, I tried to, long story short, with these people, you have to stick it on them because now their audience is watching. Right?
Yeah, and so is yours, Subboor. And so far, you've got nothing. So.
It's like the palpable irony of him talking about, people's audience hassling them to go ahead with the debate. Was, Dave has accepted. All Dave's fans are saying, no, go ahead. And even, Suboor's followers are saying, can we have the debate? It's only like Suboor who's like dragging his heels.
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting here in London. He's sitting in America, right? So the thing is, he's going to have to eventually respond. And if he has 3 hours, to watch our video and make a response and expose, you know, his audience to us, then, you know, I'm sure his audience is going to be like, well, why aren't you accepting the in-person debate, Dave?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, he had 3 hours. You've had 3 weeks, mate, and we're still waiting. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly the point that I was going to make. So I was going to say, if he does accept it or he does not accept it, we can easily make a simple video on the video that he made and say, okay, we're welcoming you to come to London. We're going to pay for your travel. We welcome you to come here, since you are the knowledgeable person. Because his whole video is this. I watched for, yeah, exactly. From 1 hour, the hour video that I watched was this, like, look, this guy, he keeps putting out on links, but he's not reading them. If I was reading every single link we put in that video, the video would be 20 hours for the people who are watching. So essentially, he was trying to say this.
yeah, I just wanted to address that point because that was in the first part of the review that I watched of Professor Dave on Muslim Lantern's presentation. And yeah, for those who haven't watched it, which I'm sure most people haven't, Muslim Lantern, he literally had a page of, I don't know, 20, 30 different links, all of them supposedly showing that evolution is just full of holes and completely flawed. And bearing in mind, Muslim Lantern is supposed to be doing a presentation. So therefore, if you're going to bring evidence, you need to, at the very least, click on the link and show what it actually says.
Yeah.
And he was just skipping past all of it. It's like, yeah, I've got a bunch of YouTube links, so that's good enough, isn't it? You could just see those, you know, little blue links go across the page. So therefore, that's all I need to do. I mean, he could have literally had links to, I don't know, his favorite cat video on YouTube for all we know.
Exactly. I mean, he was flicking through page after page with links and things, and he didn't open them. And because Professor Dave was just doing like a live reaction, he couldn't explore those links because it was just basically pausing, talking. I mean, it's like, you know, if anyone's interested, I did open every single one of those links in my video. So if they want to see what they were, and some of them were they're completely irrelevant. They were like nothing to do with the topic. So yeah, he just
that tends
probably
to be it, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
they tend to be either links which are completely irrelevant, or they're links to things that are not saying what they think they're saying, or in fact, often saying the exact opposite of what they think they're saying.
Yeah, he just wanted to like give the impression that, you know, his work was really thorough. You know, so, oh, you know, look at all these links here.
Yeah, he's done his research. Yeah, look at all his footnotes. Yeah.
People are ignorant. They have no academic education. And I'm assuming he's calling himself the professor, of course, the academic knowledgeable person who studied. But you're telling me that he's not even a professor. Why would you make a 3-hour video, a reaction video, since you got the time, you know, and you got your drinking bottle? He was drinking alcohol in the night. So it seems like you got nothing to do with your life. And you got a bottle drinking alcohol.
It's so depressing.
Honestly. I was like, this guy must be depressed, you know? And he's saying, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this video, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he had the alcohol there, no doubt, because it's bloody painful going through that stuff, and you need something to numb the headache you're inevitably going to get. And he still schooled you.
Exactly. You know, they bring up the alcohol thing as if, you know, Professor Davis was you know, depressed, so therefore he was drinking. But actually, like, it totally counters their argument, because if he could debunk everything they were presenting while drinking whiskey or whatever, it shows just how little brain power is needed to debunk their nonsense.
Yeah, it just shows how confident he was as well. Yeah.
I like he's got like a 3.5 hour video or something with an alcohol bottle during the night. He said this plus, you know, next day he's already 1 a.m. 2 a.m. doing that reaction. So he's got nothing to do in your life, and you depressing have an alcohol bottle. Okay, so we have here, we're extending the olive branch, and we're being generous enough to invite you and pay for your expenses. Come here to London and have an engaging discussion, since you are the so-called professor, the expert in the field, and speak to Brother Suboor here and tell us, you know, all of the things that we did not know, and educate us on the topics that he's already set forth. Which
yeah, but he already did that in his response video, presumably. As I said, I didn't watch the whole thing, and you have it. So I mean, I'm assuming he went. Did he go through their entire video in the end?
He went through. He kind of, I think, went through everything, but pausing and talking. So he didn't really go into a lot of depth. But I think every time when he did stop, he did debunk what they were saying.
Yeah. So yeah, okay.
Is evolution a fact? And is intelligent design science? So we would like these topics now, since this is your counter kind of position. So we would like
Absolutely. And you know what I would say? What I would say to this guy, Dave, is I would say to help you in your journey, right? Of obviously you're going to prepare for this debate and stuff. I want you to watch my content, and obviously there's a lot of content out I have out there, and so you may not have time to watch everything. So I'll tell you exactly what to watch. I'm going to invite you to something which is really important, because actually there's 2 books I'm working on. Well, there's one I'm working.
2 books now.
So that's like 20 years now.
Yeah, I mean, he's worse than George R.R. Martin trying to finish The Winds of Winter, you know, for the Game of Thrones series. He's been working on it longer than he has, for crying out loud. I mean, 2 books now. I mean, they love doing this. All the Dara apologists, Mohammed Hijab, Hampton Sources, they all claim they like write these books, and yet does anyone read them? They just release them free on whatever, you know, Substack or whatever they've got, and no one ever reads them.
They're trying to appear generous, saying that, you know, they're releasing their books for free, so it reaches a wide audience. And when they get it, it's like, you know, it's a PDF of like 50 pages or something. I think I've had homework that's longer than that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, like they're releasing it free because no one is mad enough to actually drop any cash buying a complete waste of time PDF like that. You say it's not even really a book. So
working on this one I'm going to be working on soon, inshallah, when it comes to intelligent design. So there's a discussion on my channel. I just recently had it between William Dembski and Michael Roos about debating design from Darwin to DNA. So this is the 20-year anniversary of their Cambridge publication that they did many.
Are these more intelligent design creationist types then, are they?
William Dembski is. He is an intelligent design proponent. His main argument is kind of like mathematical challenges to evolution, trying to like say that it's not maths doesn't support it. That's his type of thing. But he's the guy on the right in that thumbnail. The guy on the left is Michael Roos. He's more of a philosopher of science.
Okay.
You know, they're going to be doing a new version as well, probably. So anyway, that video, I recommend you watch that video. You watch it attentively. You watch it with a sincere heart. You try and understand what's going on. That video will help you in your debate, in which I'm going to argue that intelligent design is actually science. So you can't claim, oh, he's bringing up stuff I don't know. Don't worry.
I mean, isn't Suboor just so generous? You know, he's given a helping hand. Like, he needs a helping hand to defeat your nonsense.
I mean, he's already done like, you know, 6 or 7 videos on how intelligent design isn't science. So, you know, he could probably do the debate now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but you know, he hasn't come up against IQ 250 Suboor here, you know, with his 35 degrees. Yeah.
Worry. Just watch that video and you'll get a clear idea of what I'm saying. Look, fundamentally, it's about God. This is why Darwinism is important to them. So that's why we're going to have that as the first debate. The second debate that we're going to have is this. Go watch my discussion with Aaron Ra. Okay. That discussion I spoke about, is Darwinian evolution a fact? That's going to be the second debate. Have a watch of that discussion and understand what I'm saying, what he's saying, and then it's going to be very clear in your head.
So I'm just going to pause it there because they always do this. It's fundamental misunderstanding. It's not evolution a fact. Is evolution an effective theory that explains all the other facts of the diversity and the development of life?
Yeah.
They always linked
his video. Sorry, he's linked his video where he has his discussion with Aaron Ra, which, you know, the one where the comments are all censored. But if you go onto Aaron Ra's video where it's not, you can see how all the comments just pull apart everything Suboor says in that discussion.
Yeah.
After you've seen these 2 videos, I recommend you watch a third video, which is my discussion with Professor Jeremy Pritchard, which is, does evolution undermine God? Does evolution undermine God? There's 3 videos.
That's a completely irrelevant question, as you know, we've already brought up several times. It's not about evolution undermining God. It's it's about whether I mean, it certainly does undermine the Islamic gods, and I would say the Christian God as well. You know, if you're going to take the Adam and Eve story literally.
Exactly. Yeah. I always say it undermines the creation stories. It doesn't undermine God, because there are people, there are scientists who can intertwine their religious beliefs with evolution. So it doesn't undermine God, but you say just the creation stories.
Videos, Dave. Okay, these 3 videos will give you all of the information you need to take me on fully for this discussion, and I'm going to lay out my cards on the table. Okay, nowadays, if you believe in God, right, that's like a crime to these Darwinists, right? So from that,
I mean, again, talk about playing a fucking victim card here. It's a crime now, is it, to believe in God? There's an awful lot of criminals in the world if that's the case. I mean, but have you ever heard anyone say, any scientist who's been involved in this, it's a crime to believe in God? I mean, the hyperbole is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, there are, of course, people who are anti-theists like Christopher Hitchens, but most of these science people, they're not going to be nasty to someone for believing in God or anything like this. Only when they use their religious beliefs to undermine science, that's what gets these people, making their videos debunking these creationists.
Absolutely.
Perspective, I'm a criminal. I am happily acknowledging I'm a believer. Okay, my position is very clear. I believe intelligent design to be science, so I'm going to argue for that. And your position is that it's not science. So don't try and be vague about it. No, you've made yourself clear already that you don't believe it to be science. So that's going to be the first debate. The second debate is Darwinian evolution a fact? I'm going to argue categorically that it is not a fact. And what you need to do is you need to categorically argue it is a fact. These are the 2 debates that we're going to have in front of a live audience where they can ask all the questions they want. The videos of these debates will not be, edited, manipulated, whatever, because you'll have full access. I'll have full access.
Yeah, they'll just manipulate on the day, won't they, with their mic breaking or something.
Yeah, exactly.
No copyrights here, right? It won't be like, this, that. No. We will have full access. Okay. Now, according to this generous offer in which you will be paid to come and you'll be able to, enjoy London, enjoy the sights and scenery or whatever, and enjoy what you like to do, which is have a debate. So this generous, beautiful offer, which you're getting, you're going to find it very difficult to say no to this in front of your audience, because your audience is going to be like, we can smell a coward here, right? So, I mean, that's...
Again, sorry, I've got to...
The thing is, Dave said the following day or something, he would be delighted to take part. And so they're talking about, he's going to run away. Dave said he said, yeah, bring it on. Waiting for Suboor to actually send the invite.
The way I like that. That's what I did with Aaron Ra as well. I just put him in a position where for him to reject a debate, it would just...
He's already lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the thing is, he agreed with the point that I made in our initial discussion, which is that they are making the claim. They are making the claim that evolution is a fact. He agreed with that, by the way. And he said, we show you guys evidence all the time. That means in the discussion with you, he's supposed to show us, because it's not our position, it's their position. They are supposed to justify and give evidence that evolution is a fact, and he's welcome to do that in the discussion that he has with you, because the onus of the claim is on him. And this...
Well, yeah, I mean, that is true. But if you're proposing that the debate is that intelligent design is real science, then no, the onus is on you to prove that. So I think they've got it slightly mixed up. Not that Professor Dave would have any problem with providing evidence of evolution, because it's overwhelming. But it almost seems like they're already trying to shift the goalposts a little bit here before they've even extended the invitation.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a very essential point to keep in mind, is that it's not on you to show that it's not. It's on him first to show and give us this absolute evidence that it is a fact.
And the onus is on me in the first debate to show that
intelligent design
is a scientific theory. So it's actually fair. The first onus is on me on the debate. The second onus is on him on the debate. And what I wouldn't mind doing afterwards is what I did with Aaron Ra. We went out to eat. We had a nice chat.
Mhm.
And we sometimes have our bickering moments, but it's still, we're humans, we get along and stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, look, Muhammad, you are out there, you're debating people, you're discussing, all types of topics with people. I think it's in your interest, it's in my interest, it's in his interest that we have this lively discussion. And yeah, what else do you have to add to this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would love them to have this discussion, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But
Everyone
we'll
wants
see.
the discussion. We're just waiting for the invite.
I think we
and-
just got one. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go on. No, you're going to say something.
No, I was just going to say we got, I think, 1 more minute of this just with the Muslim lantern talking nonsense.
Sure.
But do you want to just play the last little bit and then we'll
Go ahead,
wrap
and
up?
we can talk about what's
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. What I have to add to this is if anyone watches this person, Dave, and you didn't know that he was not actually a professor, I think you should question that. You should question him on that. Why does he call himself a professor in the title? Since he's very concerned about terms that we use and terminology and being accurate about what you say, he's supposed to be accurate about not calling himself something that he isn't, and necessarily call his channel something that he isn't. So that is the first thing that I would say. The second thing is that if you guys are impressed with him, that I think all of you should watch. If he is actually as confident as he makes himself appear, he should have no issues with being fully generously paid for travel expenses and coming here face to face and having something formal in which you have an education with Brother Subboor. Now, if he refuses for whatever reason, whatever silly justification that he would give,
My feeling is he's going to reject it. That's my
Yeah.
feeling. That's why
And
I
this
want
is-
to do. Yeah.
and this is why I'm addressing his audience. That if he does, then all of you should know that this person is a fraud, because he's able
Well,
to do it.
he's already a fraud because he calls himself a professor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So
That's kind of like,
look,
one of the worst predictions ever, where Subboor says, "I'm sure he's going to reject this," and like the next day he says, "Yeah, please invite me."
yeah, I mean, it's also it's a bit hard for him to reject the invite when you haven't even like officially offered it in an email to him yet. All you've done is this bullshit video. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, once again, just at the end there, they're going on about him, him being a professor. I think in Professor Dave's response video, he does address that point early
Yeah.
on. Yeah, but as I say, we've already kind of dealt with that. But what was that, like the 12th time they brought that up
Yeah.
in a 20-minute video? I mean, it's really silly.
So even
But I just
there,
love that the ball is now in your court. No, it's back in your court, Suboor, and
Yeah.
it seems that you've run off the pitch because you don't want to pick that ball up again.
And they must have spoke about the invite 20 times to their audience and never actually sent it. So, okay. So shall I just update what's happened?
Yeah, go ahead.
Since then, yeah. So Professor Dave then did his response video, which I think was the day or two after. He said, "Yeah, please email me, and then we can sort something out." And I've checked the comments, and he hasn't had any kind of email from Suboor, any of his team. And Suboor's videos and his community posts, they're constantly full up with comments from probably his supporters, but also Dave's supporters saying, "Have you emailed him yet?" and all these types of things. So this must have really infuriated Suboor, because then he's put up a community post saying he's looking for a university society to host the debate. But the funny thing was, he said that, but he hasn't even checked with Professor Dave for his availability. Which is ridiculous, because if you don't go booking a venue for a debate without finding your opponent's availability when they're free for the debate, especially if Dave has to come from the US.
But Suboor hasn't actually contacted him directly, has he?
Yeah, he hasn't. So it just makes the whole idea of him trying to sort out a venue without finding when Dave can come over, without even contacting Dave first to see when he can come over.
I think this is just a stalling tactic. He's going to drag this out until people get bored of it and stop asking him. That's what I think he's just going to try and like run down the clock on it. So you'll probably get a community post every couple of weeks, and then it'll be once a month, and then there'll be this problem and that problem, and then he'll just let it fade out.
Exactly,
but
yeah. And Suboor was on the arena, Hamza's Den Arena, on Friday, and of course he got asked about it again. He must really dread making these appearances. But he's now saying that he's trying to sort out a university society, but he's got to wait till after the university exam season. So whoever knows how
Oh,
long
right.
that's going to be.
So that'll buy him another 3 months or whatever. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is ridiculous. And I just sort of think in summary, it's not just that they're cowardly, and not just Subboor here, because I think it's worth just going back to the situation that you had with Muslim Lantern. When they do get proper challenges, they'll resort to really dodgy copyright claims against you just because you've shown them up. And in Subboor's case, he'll do all the bravado, but he won't follow up. And I just think it particularly, that video is interesting because it just shows the mindset. Everything is about spectacle. Everything is about trying to humiliate. Everything is about kind of riling up a crowd. There's no interest in any kind of real conversation. And yeah, I just think it encapsulates that brilliantly. But on top of that, it just shows what a chicken shit he is, because we know he's not going to follow through with it.
He's definitely not, and he's never going to be able to forget about it, because eventually his own fans will stop asking him, because they'll just trust whatever he says when it dies down. But I think there's enough neutral people and Professor Dave fans, they're just going to jump on every community post, every video he does, all his comments and everything in his videos will just be full of, why are you running away from debating Professor Dave? So that will be his legacy, I think. So I think he either comes up with some lame excuse or just ignores all the comments, or actually goes ahead with the debate.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much it. I think we've summarized it pretty well. It was good. It was good fun going through it, and it was really nice to have you on, Hassan. I mean, this isn't the first time we've tried this. We were going to do a previous video, I think, of, I don't know, was it a Muslim Lantern, or maybe it was Hamza?
No,
but then
we were going to do a Hamza video,
and he took it down, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah, we agreed which one it was. Then Hamza deleted the video before we got through to.
Yeah.
He must have. I think he must have followed the media and realised that we were going to debate that video.
No, actually, I mean, I did sort of like make a crack about that at the time. I actually did catch a bit of his live stream where I think it was the person he spoke to actually requested that video be taken down, because I think it was an ex-Muslim guy, and I think he just didn't want it kind of made public. So I'll give Hamza a pass for that, because it sounded a reasonable explanation, but as we've shown tonight, I mean, they are not below kind of just making a copyright claim if they don't like the fact that you get humiliated. So yeah, it was good fun. I'm glad we finally done this, Hassan, and you're I'll put your link in the chat again. So please, everyone, go along, check Hassan's channel out, go subscribe. And yeah, hopefully, if you want to, you're welcome to come on if you want to do another one of these at another time. I'll be up for that.
Thank you. That'd be nice.
Okay, so everybody in the chat, thank you for all your comments and everything. I'm sorry I haven't sort of been able to engage with them, but it's been quite involved actually doing this. So thank you for everyone who's left messages. I appreciate you all. You're all excellent, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to Hassan, and I'm going to end the stream here. Good night, everyone.